Good Thursday morning, good peoples. I have for you Granite Shares Yield Boost. Their declaration today 9/4 and X date is Friday 9/5. Next week on 9/9 is payday. So that's Tuesday. All right, let's jump in here. Again, they pay pretty well. They're a little prone to NAV erosion, but they win some of the comparison. So let's go out and look at the Tesla fund. Well, yield on cost, again, very high, 139.87. They paid right in that 21-cent range. Look at this. Now remember, they're weekly 21, 22, 21, 22, 22, 23, 25, 25, 24, right? Some 29s when the stock price was higher. So again, excellent yield. Now, this is their oldest fund. So a little difficult here to really see because you're going so far. I'm not going to go in and do the comparisons tonight. Um, but I'll pick that back up next week. I have a lot right around the categories that they do. And then sometimes I just do one like on BTC, which XBTY. Sometimes I do them on Tesla. Sometimes I do them on Nvidia. Sometimes I do them on the Qs and on the S&P 500. And then I'm just showing them again down here. Um, but these are all weekly payers. So let's go after the Tesla fund. This gives you an idea, though, all the way back to 24, it's getting less of a loss. You know, Tesla is stabilizing, going up, not every day. So you can see they've distributed annually 64.88 and gone down 78%. Let's go look at the NVIDIA fund. Now, part of the issue here is that the NVIDIA fund has, or Nvidia, the underlying, has kind of peaked and looks like a head and shoulders. It looks like it wants to go down. Now we're a half an hour before the markets open, and the Nasdaq and the S&P 500 are just barely positive. Again, they haven't hit those new highs. Um, they look like they want to go there, but they're not going there. So we'll see. Remember, we've got on the calendar, not next week, but the week after, the Fed meeting. Tomorrow on Friday, we'll have jobs reports. At least I don't think it's today. I think it's tomorrow. But there's a lot of economic data coming out and the rate cut, which could keep this stuff hanging on for a while. But I still fear somewhat of a 10-15% pullback, whether it's September or October. Maybe we get the push after a rate cut. I mean, it's a 90% probability now that we get a 25 basis point, and it could be a half. Although I see, just an FYI, guys, looking at cycle, looking at history, looking at all the things that I study, this later part of this decade going into 2030 should resemble the late 70s. Double digit inflation, rampant inflation. So this doesn't end well. We're in a commodity super cycle. That's going to continue to heat up. It's going to be harder for the Nasdaq and the S&P 500 to maintain those averages up there. Of course, now the S&P 500 rotates out, so does the Nasdaq 100, but it takes time, you know. Newmont Mining has been the #2 S&P 500 performer. I think they're #3 right now behind Palantir and somebody else. They're both 104 year to date, and Newmont's 102%. So it's right there on the top. You're going to see a lot more of that on commodity plays. Oil will certainly take off in the next 6 months to a year. I see $150 oil again. So this is not a friendly environment to stocks necessarily going forward. There will be some AI successes, but I think the whole FOMO into the AI and NASDAQ pretty much over. It's ending. People don't see it yet. And you know how I feel about the commodity super cycle. I'll put my Patreon address in here. We have over 100 members now. Everybody that's changed from high yield only to buying growth and some income around the commodity super cycle is outperforming what they were doing in only high yield funds. And that's going to get greater, and there will be more funds offered from the high yield companies. If they want a bullish undertone, they'll pretty much have to be in the commodity super cycle somewhere or another on that income fund. All right, enough of that. Let's get you Nvidia. What did Nvidia pay? Again, remember, Nvidia's struggling now to maintain that. I suspect that it will go down substantially again. I don't know that its bull run is completely over, but I think for this particular move up where it's gone, I don't see it going on to new highs. It paid 47,327, so 100% yield. It had paid 50 cents, 49, 51, 52, 52, 50, right? So, how about the crypto oriented XBTY? Pretty good fun when I compare the crypto fund. 100% yield, paid 41 cents. It had paid 41, had paid 43, had paid 45, 44, 47, 47, 47, 45, 50, and 60. So they definitely distribute income. A lot of times, though, that's coming out of the NAV erosion. How about their, well, let's go back before we do the QQQ one and the S&P 500. Let's look at this performance. Now, these are newer funds, right? So Nvidia is still showing an excellent total return, but look at the gain loss is starting to turn negative. This thing could get really ugly if that head and shoulders plays out. That could be another 15, 20% downturn from where we are in Nvidia. Again, it just, that can get invalidated. But to me, the valuations look toppy. I don't know what the catalyst is going to be. I just feel it. And my historical cycles and everything else I study indicate that. Not a 29 crash by any means, but certainly a pullback, which would be good in the scheme of things. No one ever likes it when it happens, but it's sort of necessary in order to not get a 50% crash or a 70% crash that could happen in the markets. I don't really foresee that. All right, how about the Qs and the S&P 500? How are we doing on those? Let's take a look, and then I'll wrap this up so I can get to the market. So they paid 17 cents. Again, 17, 17, 18, 17, 18, 18, 18, 18, 18, 18. Say that a million times, right? So a 49.89 yield. And how about on the S&P 500? 18, 18, 18, so forth, right? So 50% on those two, 100% on their um, BTC oriented, basically 100% on Nvidia, and TSYY is 140. And the big winner really is the Coinbase fund, 150% yield, paid 54. Now that's down. With this 68 cent, it was like 180% yield on cost, guys. But what do you have with core? You have it down. I bought some. I think I paid around 24. I bought it close to when it launched, and it's 19. So again, I'm probably down on it. But again, just doing this channel and doing this, I need to own some of these so I experience it firsthand. Have skin in the game, so to speak. But certainly a minuscule investment. All my high yield funds collectively together are probably now only about 10% of what I invest. So 77.05 is the net because it's got an outsized payment, right? The actual distribution in 37 days is 17% outlay. So that relates to an annualized 168, which they'll have a hard time maintaining, right? So that is one of your more positive numbers. That's kind of the winning fund here. TQQY from 226, actually the S&P 500 from 226 is showing a 56, but Coinbase is outperforming that. And Nvidia, right, over 114 days is sort of. But again, mixed dates, hard to compare all this. I'll get back to doing a comparison. So as a reminder, guys, that's it for Granite 9-4. You can buy on Thursday, still get paid next Tuesday. Friday, ex dividend 9-5. Let me put a September 5th goes ex-dividend. You won't get it if you buy it on Friday. Buy during normal trading hours on Thursday. All right. Pay date is Tuesday, September 9. All right, guys, that's what I got for you. If you have any interest, let me flash. Here is my Patreon, www.patreon.com/TWC for Targeted Wealth Creation 100. Like I said, I have over 100 paid members now. We have a great little community building there. It's mostly focused, but not exclusively, for some of my high end where I do a 45-minute consulting one-on-one each week. I cover people who still have high yield funds and talk about strategy, talk about comparison, what I'm doing, what I would do. They ask me, right? Not necessarily for financial advice, but if I had to choose between this and this and this, what would I choose? And I explain that rationale. But of course, I'm getting them launched and they're seeing the benefits of this super commodity cycle. If you have any interest in that, jump over there. Again, Bruce with Targeted Wealth Creation. I'm not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. Have a great Thursday ahead, people. All right, bye for now.